18 officers and soldiers from 23 Pioneer Regiment RLC, who are currently serving with the United Nations in Cyprus, have successfully completed a gruelling 200-mile cycle ride from Paphos to the Panhandle in the northeast of the island. The aim was to raise money for the Help for Heroes charity and get a little fitter in the process.
It was a 7 a.m. start for the men, most of whom have dedicated a lot of time in recent weeks training for the bike ride. But despite their preparation, not surprisingly, there were a few pre-cycle nerves as they contemplated the challenges of day one. A 5,500 feet climb to the top of the Troodos mountain range.
Very apprehensive. We've got a lot of climbing ahead of us, from all the way from sea level up to 5,500 feet. So it's going to be fairly gruelling, but we'll all make it.
A bit anxious, but if I'm completely honest, we've done enough training now. I feel confident that we can get through it. I think today's going to be the hardest day with the climb, and then after that the ride into Nicosia should be okay, and then across the north where we've been predominantly doing all our training we should be absolutely fine.
The group started off sticking pretty much together for the first few kilometres of the route leading from Paphos to the foot of the Troodos Mountains. But as the road got steeper, the cyclists drifted apart. During the gentler gradients, all of the UN soldiers and officers seemed to be doing pretty well. Though as they made their way up an 8-kilometre stretch, 20 k's into the ride, we watched them push themselves slowly up 2,000 feet, and even for the fittest, it looked like a huge physical and mental struggle.
All for charity, eh? God.
The steep road that passes through the picturesque village of Patras also looked tough, but the team ploughed on upwards, refusing to let the tricky bits stop them. How are you feeling?
Not as easy as it looks. Pretty tight. Getting there. 8 k's to go there.
Is the lolly helping?
Oh yeah, nice and cool.
At the top of the village, the cyclists took a break. There was a good sense of camaraderie as the rest of the team pulled in, and everyone used the time to rest a little or mend things like broken chains. Is it tricky to fix?
Well, I'm making it look hard, put it that way. It should be okay, but yeah, if you've got fingers like I have, probably not the easiest.
Now, is this cycle as you'd anticipated, or is it tougher?
No, it's fairly like we anticipated. We did lots of training rides before, up into the Troodos Mountains, so yeah, some guys didn't do quite so much training, so I expect it's a bit harder than they thought, but yeah, there's quite a whack of us that did loads, so yeah, it's okay. The last 10k stretch looked like the toughest part, as most were pretty tired after the 4 or 5 hour climb so far, but amazingly no one dropped out. And before we knew what, they were pulling into the car park at the top of the mountain and still looking in pretty good shape. You've got your heart rate monitor on there, yeah. And you were pretty much first over. How are you feeling? Yeah, pretty good actually. Yeah, I went up to 160, so not too much. It was a bit of a lick. Last 10k after 5 or 6 hours riding, so yeah, fairly hard. So yeah, all right. Looking forward to a beer in a second. Are you hurting? Not really, not yet. Tomorrow morning will be a different story.
The next 2 days of their ride went to plan, with all 18 men arriving safely at the end of the Karpas Peninsula. The team are well on course for raising their target of £5,500 for Help for Heroes. Jenny Curtis, BFBS Reports, Cyprus.